Hi, Dave Hot Springs, Scott Mattis, the mayor. I'm coming to you on March 13th, 2020 with a new update on the coronavirus. As we said in our last video, we want to keep you updated on the facts and the facts only. So I wanted to start off with local responsibility and what we have as we did in the last video. Our senior community is really the one that's targeted when it comes to the coronavirus. A lot of the younger people can carry it, but when it comes to social gatherings and those types of things, we're trying to protect our senior community because of the what happens to them when they come down with this virus. So again, as most of you probably know by watching the news, the governor has basically said that local gatherings of 250 people and more should be canceled, and you've seen that a lot in our valley. Social distancing is the new term that everybody's been using. You know, stay 6 feet away, 6 feet apart. Don't be shaking hands. Use fist bumps or elbow bumps when you're greeting people if you must, and those types of things. It's just being responsible. Wash your hands. You know, make sure your germs are off there. We've been getting daily updates from the state and the county, and so I wanted to give you some of those updates. The federal government today, on the 13th at about noon today, the president was a little bit longer, basically stated a state of emergency for the federal government. And what does that do for us? Well, that releases a lot of federal aid back into the local states and territories so that they can get processing on these testing kits and get them out to the local levels. One of the interesting things that they did release was Google is working closely with the federal government on a way that you can actually go straight to Google and be able to answer some questions. And if you qualify or are eligible for it, you can end up in a drive-through to get tested. I don't know how close the drive-throughs will be right now. We'll have to wait for our healthcare officer to announce in the Riverside County where those will be available for you if they are available in the future here locally. But you'll be able to do that on Google here pretty quickly. So stay tuned for that. As of March 12th, the end of the day yesterday, the reporting from the state of California was 198 confirmed cases in the state of California. 876 negative cases that have been tested, and there's still 499 that are pending. That obviously those numbers will rise as we get testing kits here and we're able to test more people in the state of California. There are still 8 cases confirmed as of 2 o'clock today in Riverside County. 3 are community spread and 5 are due to travel. Locally, as stated in the last meeting, the city council meeting for next week will be postponed till March 31st. We're reevaluating that every week to see if we need to postpone those even further. There are still very important things that the city has to accomplish, and so we might be having meetings. And the governor's outlined a plan that will announce more next week on how those meetings will take place in the future if we need to take those precautions. But as of right now, next week's meeting is the only one that's been postponed. Little League did postpone their opening day because of large gatherings, and we appreciate that from them. But the Little League season will continue. So if you've signed up for Little League, just reach out to the board of directors or your coach out there, and they'll continue to have practices and stuff. Little League International has given them sanitizing rules and directions on how to do that with the equipment. County EMS, again, as stated in the last video, has a phone number for direct questions, 951-351-6865. So any questions that you have directed to the coronavirus, you can call that number and get answers to those. They also have a website, which is rivcoph.org, and that update, that's directed directly for the coronavirus, and you can get all your questions answered on there, or most of them. We've been supporting our school district on their attempts to make sure that everything is safe at the schools. It will be announced today by phone and by board direction that spring break will be moved up to starting Monday, March 16th. So as today ends, there is no more school for the next 2 weeks. The superintendent made it very clear that they'll be monitoring what the Riverside County Health Department wants them to do, and so spring break is 2 weeks now, could be extended longer, but those notices will go out to you, the public, as needed and during spring break. So stay tuned to your phones and then watch the websites and all those other things. The City of Desert Hot Springs has taken some measures. We have closed our gym at the Health and Wellness Center, and we have closed our gymnasium at the Health and Wellness Center. But as of today, the rec center is still functioning and still available for our kids. We'll be making more announcements next week on which direction we'll be taking with that. Our senior center is a contract with Mizell in Palm Springs. They are meeting today to talk about services and if we continue services for our seniors, how the food services will be continued, and those types of things. And we'll have more of an update Monday on that for you. If something changes with our senior center, we'll get an email out, and our public information officer, Doria Whelms, also our assistant city manager, who is here with me today, will be making those announcements if necessary. And from our police department, 911 is not an option if you think you have the coronavirus. Remember, those are for emergencies. Those are for medical emergencies, fire emergencies, and other types of emergencies that you need help for. Our police department is available and will continue to function as normal. The only difference is if they need to write reports and don't need to be, they need to be responsible in social distancing, because they don't need to pick up any evidence or anything from your home or business or wherever that you need a report taken from. They might be doing that over the phone. So you might receive a phone call rather than an in-person visit by a police officer. Now, to give you an update on what City Hall is doing, I have our Assistant City Manager, Doria Whelms.
Hello, everybody. So the City Manager's Office at this point has decided to temporarily implement further mitigation strategies to address the coronavirus situation. Slowing epidemics is critical as it reduces stress on hospitals and health centers, which can only treat a certain number of patients at any given time. As public sector employees, we are responsible for contributing towards community mitigation efforts. With that said, our largest goal at this point is to ensure that we're taking measures that will eliminate these drastic increases in cases all at once. And instead, we're taking measures that would promote this flattening of the curve model put out by the CDC. At this point, it's been made really clear that we're past the efforts of just containment with this virus. Several weeks back, that may have been an option, but we're just not there anymore. And so we are taking every measures that we can to instead mitigate as much exposure as possible. And the reason for that is that we do not want to have a complete overrun of our healthcare facilities. And so again, if we're looking at this flattening the curve model, we're taking efforts that will flatten that curve instead of having influxes. And so with that in mind, starting on Monday, we are dividing the majority of city staff into two separate groups. Each group will rotate weekly between working in the office at City Hall versus working from home. And again, this is to ensure that we're mitigating risks, and we're also ensuring continuity of government and efforts to keep the city running forward so we can continue to provide services to you all. Inspectors will be in the field and then working from home on their reports remotely to keep development projects, home projects moving forward. The near future will certainly be challenging for all of us. I'm confident, as are the rest of the City Council and City Management team, that Desert Hot Springs residents and staff will rise to the occasion and act responsibly to keep city services operational, while also taking reasonable steps to keep themselves and their community as healthy as possible. The mayor mentioned this earlier, and it is a measure that we're really stressing here so much. Social distancing. You know, if you need to go out into the public, do your best to make sure that you're washing your hands and you are social distancing yourself. That the technical, distance is about 6 feet. That's what they're recommending, and we would really like it if our community would take those measures as much as possible. In addition to the measures that we're taking from a staffing perspective, I do also want to reiterate that at this time we are limiting our front counter operations as much as possible. We're asking people if they are sick to not come to City Hall. If somebody comes into City Hall and they're exhibiting symptoms, they are going to be asked to leave and to schedule an appointment over the phone or through video conferencing for meetings. We're also, continuing to take hourly sanitation measures on all of our high frequent areas. But at this point, again, we are promoting social distancing as much as possible. Most permits that are needed in the city can be obtained by visiting the city port on the City of Desert Hot Springs website. And we are asking folks if they have any questions or concerns to call us directly for scheduling of meetings via phone or over the video conferencing at 760-329-6411.
And just to close out, after my last video, there was quite a few questions. If you were watching Facebook or looking at my video through Facebook, I heard that someone was at the so-and-so healthcare and they walked out and they tested positive. And those are good questions to have because we want to stop those rumors as quick as possible. The current time frame for a commercial lab is at least 24 hours to get a positive test or a test back, whether it's positive or negative. But being so many testings out there, I'm sure it can be longer than that. But it's not as long as the CDC was taking, which was over 4 to 5 days at one point. So let's be cautious about what we hear about out there and what we put on social media, not to cause panic. We want to make sure that you're given all the facts that we have. The City of Desert Hot Springs, at this point, the public health officer has not reported any cases in the City of Desert Hot Springs, but he will not identify any quarantined people in Desert Hot Springs. So if there is somebody quarantined, that's their privacy, and they might just be quarantined because of the situation or the exposure that they had. So we don't want to cause panic there either. So if a case does happen in our city, we will be notifying, we will notify you. Again, wash your hands, be safe, social distance, stay away from events for the next couple of weeks, listen to the TV and the media outlets, watch us on Facebook, we'll have more updates next week or as it warrants. So be safe out there, thank you.
We'll all get through this together.